I really did believe in myself. I didn't think it was likely to happen, but I knew it was possible. And I was like, if there's a 2% chance that I achieve this, it's worth the risk. Because if I don't take the risk, there's a 0% chance. And I was like, if I'm 80 years old looking back on my life, I would never forgive myself if I gave up on that 2% chance that I could pursue something that was the most important thing to me.
Hello, everyone. My name's Ethan Kurzweil. I'm one of the founders of Chemistry, and I'm excited to welcome you to the third Chemistry Elements event featuring my friend, Kristen Faulkner. Let me introduce Kristen. Both had the pleasure of working with Kristen, rooting for Kristen, and now working for Kristen, because Kristen's one of our LPs at Chemistry. Thank you for your support.
The tables have turned.
Yes. So I hope I do a good job here. Report to the boss later. So our relationship goes back to 2016 when Kristen joined Bessemer Venture Partners. I think we worked on your first or second deal together back then.
Yeah, I think it's my first ever deal.
And after that, some interesting things happened to Kristen. As you know, she's a 2-time Olympic Gold Medalist. First woman to medal in the gold race in 40 years. I was alive then, but I was in preschool. Kristen was not alive then. That was in the LA Olympics of 1984. With those counting. She grew up in Alaska, in Homer, Alaska. She was a swimmer. She switched to crew in high school. She holds records at Harvard for crew, I believe. And then she took a intro to cycling class in Central Park while she was an investor at Bessemer Venture Partners. But before we get to all that, let's start with growing up in Homer, Alaska. What was your upbringing like?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks everyone for coming tonight. It's really great to be back here. So I'm from a really small town in Alaska. There's 5,000 people. When I moved to New York City, there are more people in my square block than in my hometown. I'm one of 5 kids. I'm the fourth of 5 kids. So growing up, we spent a lot of time in the outdoors. I did sports all year round. My parents have a hotel restaurant that they bought kind of in their 20s that was foreclosed and spent the next 20 years building it up. So a lot of entrepreneurs in my town, but different kind of entrepreneur, like a lot of writers and artists and fishermen. And so I grew up doing every odd job in the hotel. My parents made me do housekeeping and busing and front desk and accounting and pretty much everything. But we also developed a real love for the outdoors. And so we'd go on these week-long hiking trips as a family in the woods. And sometimes we got lost. Sometimes we ran into bears. Sometimes we ran out of food. One time I got my foot stuck in the ice. But it was always just a lot of adventure and a lot of fun.
After growing up, you go to boarding school at Andover, and you end up at Harvard. You end up rowing crew there. And then later you take that intro to cycling class and discover that, you're actually pretty good at cycling. But as I step back through your story and kind of learned about how you got to where you were, one of the themes that comes up a lot is that you don't mind being a beginner. You don't mind kind of picking up a new thing and aspiring to glory at it. Most people are a little scared of doing something new, or at least as you get older in life, you kind of embrace it less. Can you talk about that? What makes you excited about new things?
I actually love being a beginner because I feel like everything is so new and you're learning so fast. And I love learning. I love trying new things. And I feel like when you're a beginner, not only are you learning really fast, but every day you can see your progress. And I find that really motivating when you can see your progress. It's less about where am I today and what is my trajectory. And I find that it's really fun to have a really fast trajectory, whether you're learning something new or developing a new skill or starting a new job or whatever. And so when I started cycling, I was a complete beginner. But I think also I was okay being a beginner because I think I had spent most of my life trying to not be the smartest person in the room, trying not to be the most talented person in the room. And I think especially at Harvard, I would always have study groups and I was I want to be the least smart person in my study group, right? And I think that was a theme. If you're always around people smarter than you or better than you, you're always going to feel like you are a beginner in a way. And I think having done that so many times in my life, then when I started cycling, it didn't feel that foreign to me. And I think having that humility and openness to learning something new is what allowed me to, improve very quickly.
What about the decision to try venture capital? It's not the most athletically oriented career in the world, coming out being a world record.
There's a lot of VCs that are going after QOMs on Strava, weekend warriors.
How did you think about the decision to join VC? Why was that an appealing career path? What was exciting about it for you?
I'd grown up in a small town and everyone, a lot of people in my town are entrepreneurs. And I'd always thought I wanted to start my own company, but I didn't think about it in terms of Silicon Valley venture-backed tech company. I thought about it as I want to start my own ice cream shop or cafe or something. And then I discovered computer science at Harvard, got really interested in tech. And I thought, okay, I want to start my own company one day. And that was kind of always the plan. But then I was like, I don't really know how to start a good company. Like what makes a good company? And I was like, I'll work in venture for 2 years, learn how to make a good company, and then maybe I'll start my own. So that's like what attracted me to it. And then after 2 years in venture, I decided I wanted to go to the Olympics. And so I stayed another 2 years. And I haven't started a company yet, but maybe one day.
Like most VCs, the Olympic path is a common one. All right, so let's go back to the decision to take that intro to cycling class in Central Park. What was that class like? Just take us in there. Were there other Olympic athletes that ended up in that class too? Any other Olympic gold medals?
So it's funny. So I actually, so I was a rower in college, and I always thought I wanted to go to the Olympics for rowing. And so when I graduated college, I moved to New York and I was working at Bessemer. And I actually tried going to the boathouse every day, but it was like an hour. First of all, we were working in Larchmont. For anyone who knows New York and knows Bessemer, like back in the days, we would like commute.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. And so I was actually commuting like an hour and a half to the boathouse and then rowing for an hour and then an hour and a half back to Bessemer. And I was like, this is just not sustainable. I won't do any deals if I continue doing this. And so I was looking for some cross training, something to keep me fit. And so I decided to start running, and then I got shin splints, and then I was on the elliptical, and I was like next to like 4 moms on the elliptical in the gym one day. And I was just like, I can't do this. So I needed something that was like a little competitive, but also a little social. And so my friend at the time, he was 6'3", and he's like, borrow my bike there. And so I looked up, it's Introductory to Cycling Clinic in Central Park. And I showed up in running shorts and sneakers and this like cricket helmet and running sunglasses and this bike that was for a guy who was 6'3". And I like looked like I was at a garage sale is what I say. It was 5 a.m. in the morning. I was like delirious. I think I was like writing investment memos the night before or something. He actually taught us how to clip into pedals and ride around cones. It was really fun. So then I decided to come back the next day. But I like wanted to look cool this time. So I actually bought clip-in pedals. But I bought the wrong kind of cleats and pedals. So like they weren't compatible. So they didn't clip in. And so I was like at home and I was like, like why don't they clip in? And then I was like, I'll go to this clinic and they'll show me how to clip in. So I like show up to this clinic for day 2. And I'm like, yeah, like I can't get them in. I don't know why. Like, can you show me how? And they spent like 10 minutes trying to show me how to clip in. And then they're like, oh, actually, you just bought the wrong stuff. I like rode home in these like pedals that wouldn't clip in. And it was basically like that, like the whole first week or two, just every day I'd show up and like there was something wrong with my bike. There was something wrong with my seat one time was loose and I literally just like fell down on the bike. But I just kind of had to take this attitude of like, I'm never going to get good at it unless I try and keep coming back.
Was there a point when you knew like, I could be really good at this. I could be the best in the world at this. Was that right away? Was that?
I think with everything I do, I just like, so there's 2 things. Like the first is I always want to be as good as I can be, right? And the second thing is like my mind just like naturally always goes to best case scenario. And so like whenever I try something, whenever I'm doing anything, it's like, if this were to go perfectly, like what would that look like? And I remember after my 3rd race or something, I won the race. And I was like, oh, like what happens if I keep winning races? Like how good could I get? And then I was like, I guess the pinnacle will be the Olympics. Like, so I think it was like my 3rd race where I was like, how good is good? Obviously it was like going to take a little bit of work to get there. But then actually I had heard about this woman named Evie Stevens, who was about 10 years older than me. And she had gone through Central Park Introductory Clinic and made it to the Olympics. And I was like, if she can do it, then it's been done before, I can do it. And so then that's when I started thinking like, okay, it's possible, right? Like I was like, it's far off, but it's possible. And I think I always tend to like daydream about what's possible.
For a while, as I understand it, you were balancing both. You had your Olympic aspirations, but you kept a foot in venture capital. Maybe talk about that period, how you balanced both before you kind of ultimately picked a path.
Ask a question. Did you know that I was juggling both when I was working at Bessemer?
Not at all.
Like, was it obvious?
No, I had to. So full disclosure, I had to prep for this by watching a whole lot of Kristen footage and learning what was going on behind the scenes when she was working with me at Bessemer, and I had no idea. Was able to hide it incredibly well.
Yeah. So for the first 2 years, actually, I wasn't that competitive on the bike. I was riding in Central Park every day. I would ride my indoor trainer. So we had these Monday meetings where we had to read all these investment memos. And I would be on the trainer every morning at like 5 a.m. reading these memos like rapidly before the Monday morning meeting. But when I moved to California and started working for a venture firm here, that's when I became really competitive about cycling and things became a lot harder. I would wake up at like 5 a.m., train from 5:30 to 7:30, go to the office during the week. And then on the weekends, basically my entire weekend was spent away at races. So I'd leave on a Friday night and get back on a Sunday night. So like I didn't have that much of a social life, to be honest, for like 2 years. But then the hardest part was during COVID. There was no racing in America because racing here was canceled. And so I went to Europe for a month. Somehow I convinced my boss to let me go to Europe for a month and work remotely and do some European races. That was really hard because I was doing a stage race, which was basically like 5 hours a day. And then coming back and doing Excel spreadsheets and diligencing companies and joining board meetings on Zoom calls. And I remember one time we had this board meeting and I tried to use my phone as a hotspot to log in the back of a camper going down this like mountain in the Pyrenees. And we like lost cell phone service. And I'm like on the Zoom call on this mountain, like we're the CEO and it's like cutting out. And then I get back that night and I'm like having a baguette and a protein shake for dinner. And I'm like sitting there on the Zoom call, like trying not to make it obvious that I'm drinking this like massive protein shake just to get some food in me. And like that was really hard. Yeah, there was one time where I had to take a call. I actually was riding in the middle of the day. So I got to the office like super early, like 6:30 a.m. and then rode in the middle of the day because it was winter. And then I had this call and I think I got lost in my ride or flat tire or something happened. So I had to like pull into a cafe and I had this Zoom call. So I like took off my helmet and like logged into the Zoom call. So like I was cutting it close a lot. And the thing about my journey is like, it's really easy to look back and be like, wow, like she had it all or like she did it all. But like, pretty much every day for 5 years, I felt like I was on the verge of failing. I was like, I'm going to, fail at biking. I'm going to fail at venture. Like it really felt that way for a long time. And that's why eventually I decided I could be really great at one of these, but just not at the same time. And that's ultimately why I decided to leave.
Was it a hard decision to pick which path? There's
no, not at all.
What hit you?
So a few things. So going to the Olympics had always been like a childhood dream of mine. It's something I'd wanted from a really young age. I remember watching the Olympics when I was like 8 years old and thinking, wow, that's like my dream. When I was in my 20s, I kind of realized like this might never happen if I don't go do it. And I also I'd given up the idea of going for rowing because I kind of fell in love with cycling and got really competitive about it. And so I was like, wow, like this is my biggest life dream. And I might just not do it because I have this great job. We have kombucha in the fridge. Like, why would I give this up? Life was actually really good. Like, I really liked my job in venture. I liked the people I worked with. I had amazing bosses. I was the only non-partner at my firm. So I had great mentorship. There was like career mobility. I'd like done some good deals. Like everything was going well. And so I was like, why would I leave this? And even my parents, I told them and they're like, no, like you will not, like you will not leave. It was actually really hard. But in the back of my head, I was like the most important thing like in my life would be like to pursue my greatest dream. Like kombucha is nice, but like it'll always be there, hopefully. And there were a few things that happened. The first is I remember meeting with my psychologist and I was like really grappling with this decision. And he's like, Kristen, like you found something that makes you feel so alive. Like, why would you not go do it? Like people spend their whole lives trying to find that thing. And then the second thing is I remember meeting with my brother and he was like, is this like another goal or is this like a dream? I was like, no, this is my dream. And he's like, then why are you even having this conversation? Like, if it's your dream, you got to go do it. Like, why would you not do it? It's your dream. And then I think the last thing is like, I was like supporting entrepreneurs every single day who had like just risked so much and given up so much, left their jobs to go pursue something they really believe in. And I like really did believe in myself. I didn't think it was likely to happen, but I knew it was possible. And I was like, if there's a 2% chance that I achieve this, it's worth the risk. Because if I don't take the risk, there's a 0% chance. And I was like, if I'm 80 years old looking back on my life, like I would never forgive myself if I gave up on that 2% chance that I could pursue something that was the most important thing to me. It became a matter of like just when, like was I going to have the courage to do it? Because I kind of knew what the right answer was. I just was scared to do it. And so I actually think it was an easy decision to make, but the hard part was developing the courage to actually pursue it.
Was there a long time where you sort of put it off before you actually made it? And do you remember the day you were definitive about it? Like, I'm going for this now.
So I definitely put it off for about a year. I remember sitting in a nail salon with my partner, Emily Melton. She took me there for a one-on-one, which is a pretty awesome thing for a boss to do. And she was like, so Kristen, like this whole cycling thing, like about that, like what are your goals in venture? and like, what are your goals in cycling? And I was like, oh, well, like I really want to go to the Olympics. And she was like, okay. And like, what are your goals in venture? It's like, oh, I really want to be a partner. And she's like, okay. So like, what is required for cycling? And I was like, oh, I have to go to Europe like a few months a year to race. And she's like, okay, like let's talk about it. And so I think that was like for so long I had made both work. And so in the back of my head, I was like, oh, I can make both work. And I think that was the moment where I was like, oh, actually, I can't make both work. And like I was on a great path in cycling and I was on a great path in venture, but they were increasingly taking up my time. And I could be good at both, or I could be world class at one. Yeah. And one had a timeline.
That's a good segue to the Paris Olympics. Fast forwarding to there, you were technically an alternate for the road race event. And as I understand it, there was a bit of strategy and what sort of happened to open up the spot for you, and what was your thinking around whether or not to do it?
Yeah. So the qualification for the Olympics is it's interesting. The time trial is basically like one person out and back kind of race. It's different from the road race. And historically, the US has done a very good job in the time trial. And we haven't won a medal in the road race in 40 years. And whoever, the way the Olympics works is whoever does the time trial automatically does the road race as well. So the USA decided, rather than picking who's the best road racer, we're going to pick the best time trialists and have them do the time trial and the road race. So I got second in the qualification for the time trial, so that I lost out on the chance to do the road race as well. So I was actually the backup. The girl who won the time trial was a triathlete, and the triathlon said to her, like, the two events are too close together. You've never done a road race before, so you like might crash. So if you do the time trial, then we won't let you do the triathlon. So then she actually pulled out of the road race and the spot opened up for me. So then USA Cycling came to me and they said, okay, you qualified for the road race technically now, but we don't actually want you to do it because you have this track event 2 days later and you have actually a pretty good chance of getting a medal in team pursuit, which is the track event. And I said, well, I'd like to do both. And I qualified for both now. And they said, yeah, but if you do the road race, like you might be tired for the track event, you might crash, like you could really risk this event. And like, we have a really good shot at winning a medal. And not only that, but you have 3 teammates who are relying on you. And I was like, okay, fair enough. And so I actually had to go back and like make this decision. Do I do the road race or not? And it was really tough for me because I actually really believed that I could do really well in the road race. And USA Cycling said, well, we did a simulation, and yeah, fuck simulations. Next time someone says that.
AI founders want to rebut this here. Yeah.
Use AI to make the simulation.
What did the simulation say?
It said I had a 6% chance of a medal of any color in the road race. And
showed them.
Yeah. And I said, actually, I disagree. I think your algorithm is wrong. And there are a few reasons why I believe that. So the first is the field sizes are smaller at the Olympics than they are during regular season road races. The second is that the team sizes are smaller. And so there's fewer support riders for each team. And as someone who's like a solo attacker, what that means is that if I go off solo, there's fewer support riders who can chase me down. And then on the track, I'd been doing these 4-minute efforts, which is the team pursuit, the length of that race. And that was the exact length of the climbs in the road race. And so like there were all these factors that I felt like really played in my favor, which the simulation didn't take into account. But then on top of that, I also would much rather go to the Olympics and walk away with a medal than having just participated in 2 events. And so I was actually on the same side of the table as them. And I also didn't want to do the road race if it was going to compromise team pursuit. And so I was actually like really struggling with this dilemma because I was like, what do I do? Like, I really believe I can get a medal, but at the same time, there's 100 people in the road race and only one person wins. Like 3 people will get a medal. And then on top of that, there's all these other risks. And I have teammates who are relying on me. I had decided not to do it. And I was like, it's not worth the risk. Like, I want to be a good teammate. And then the day before, I remember watching the men's race and this guy did like this solo attack. And I was like, dude, I know I can do that. Like, I know I can do that. And so I went to my coach the night before and I said, I'm going to do the road race. But I promise that the moment I cross the finish line, I will focus on recovering for team pursuit. So like the moment I cross the finish line, I will spin my legs, I'll drink water, I'll eat my recovery. So that's what happens. I cross the finish line. I don't even celebrate because I like the first thing on my mind is like, I need to get ready for my next race. So that was the decision to do the road race.
So if I translate it, it sounds like the data models had an ingest problem, like not the right data in there. They didn't have all this information that you had in your head.
If they had any Silicon Valley engineers working for them, maybe.
Well, maybe we'll fix that now. But let's fast forward to another key moment, the moment where you break away. It's been described by Missy Franklin herself, 5-time gold medalist or something like that, as like you got jet engines on your bike and just sped away from the pack. There was some strategy in that too. Take us into your thinking around why to attack there and how you thought about, ultimately, your best shot at winning that race.
My best chances of winning Okay, so we go into the finale. There's 4 of us. Okay, there's 4 of us entering the finish line together. There's 3 medals at stake. So one of us of the 4 is not going to earn a medal, and I know that. I also know that I'm the weakest sprinter of everyone. So if we all go to the finish line together, I'm gonna like have finished this Olympic road race and gone 4th, which sucks. It's like the worst position you could possibly get. And I also knew that my strength was to go away solo. And so I was like, if I go out solo, they might catch me. But if I don't go out solo, I'm going to get 4th. So like that was the only option I had. But in order to get there, actually, like rewind earlier in the race, we were a group of like 12 that had gotten away, maybe more than that, I'm not sure. And I knew that my best chance of getting away solo, like I had to make sure that there were no support riders. The way cycling works is you pick one leader and then everyone else on that team supports that leader to win. And so if Great Britain had 2 people in my group and I got away solo, one of the Great Britain people would like chase me down. And so I had to make sure that the group was as thin as possible and there were no support riders if I were to go away solo. So basically for the first half of the race, my only goal was like drop as many people as possible. And then what happened is in the finale, there were 2 riders out ahead and then there was me with one other rider. And it became pretty complicated because this rider, like she and I were chasing the front 2 and she refused to work with me. She's like, oh, I'm too tired. And I was like, okay.
You guys are talking back and forth.
Yeah. She's like, I'm too tired. I have nothing left. And I was like, oh, me too.
Sure.
The thing is, like, if I show that if I show that I can chase them down, then she's just going to sit on my wheel and make me do all the work. But at the same time, it actually was clear to me that she was too tired. So at first I thought she was bluffing. And then I realized like, oh crap, like this girl's actually too tired. But then I was like, but at the same time, she's a faster sprinter than me. So if I drag her back, she's still going to have the energy to outsprint me. And so I had to like play this mind game with her, which was full hard enough that we would catch them in time, but weak enough that she didn't know how strong I was. And so I had to like put out a good effort and be like, okay, your turn, but that's cycling. Like you have to play those games and it's like part of the sport. But the other thing that was tricky was I needed to make sure that we caught the front 2 people at exactly the right time. Because I needed to give myself, like the 3-kilometer mark was like the perfect time to catch them because I needed enough time that it was like far enough for the finish that I could get enough of a gap, but close enough that I wouldn't get gassed if they decided to work together. And so I like was with this girl chasing the front 2, trying to pretend that I was more tired than I was, also trying to time it so that we caught them at like the perfect time. And I knew that as soon as we caught the front 2, I had to go right away because I didn't want to give them enough time to figure out who I was, to like catch their breath. I wanted to catch them off guard because there were no race radios. So they didn't actually know who we were chasing them. And so all they knew was they kind of looked back and saw 2 people chasing them. And then as soon as I caught them and they figured out who I was, I had to like go and catch them off guard. So there was a lot of strategy going into the final moment.
Have you talked to that rider since?
Yeah, I see her at every race. Yeah. But she doesn't let me bluff anymore. She makes me do all the work.
Calls that bluff now.
But it's fine. Like I won the one thing that was important, like it's over.
Fool me once.
She can win every race from now on. I don't care.
So it's so unusual to go from complete novice at a sport to gold medalist in only 7 years. And when you were on one of the post-race interviews I saw with Lester Holt, you talked a lot about resilience, how that's like your salient characteristic. Talk about how you kind of channeled that to create such spikiness in the sport so quickly.
I think ever since I was young, that was just resilient. Like a lot of parents teach their kids to like be kind, to work hard in school, to like, all these things. And I just remember resilience was like the one thing my mom always like really instilled in me from a young age. And I remember like we would go on these like hiking trips in the outdoors and like I just remember like anything that happened, she's like, well, like you can sit here and get hypothermia or you can like get back up and keep going. And I remember like during one of those interviews, I said it was never a matter of if I would keep going. It was just a matter of how. And I think that's like something that was in my brain the entire time. Like it was never a question of like, will I keep going? Will I make it? It was just like, how do I get through this next problem? How do I get through this next problem? Like one at a time. And I think if I hadn't had that mentality, I never would have made it because there were so many setbacks. Like I was hit by a car. I had a blood clot in my lung. I got through a lot of crashes. I had concussions. I got cut from the team and didn't actually qualify to the Olympic team. I remember moving to Girona and I had a 2 bike bags in a suitcase, and my stipend for the year was like $12,000. I just left behind, a lucrative VC job and like my 2 bike bags. Like I basically take the escalator for some reason down at the airport, and I'm like 2 bike bags and they like tumble over me, and I like somersault down the escalator to the point where the security guards like started laughing at me. There were so many crashes early on, and like I really homesick, like really miss my friends and family. Like weeks on end with like a roommate who snored. Oh my God. I don't know like how people deal with that. I just remember like after my first season, I was so committed to this dream, right? And I'd just given up so much to make it happen. And I remember like coming back to California for my off season, and my friends were like crushing an adventure, getting good deals, getting promoted. And I was like, what the F have I done? But I was still like really committed to making it happen. And I think like that quote, like, it's not a matter of if I'll make it, it's just a matter of how, I think is something that like I just told myself like every single day.
So I'm going to ask one last question. And because we're chemistry, I have to ask a chemistry question. If you can draw some parallels for us between, because since you've been in both worlds, you've been in the startup.
What did I learn from B2B SaaS that helped me win an Olympic gold medal?
Sure, let's take that one. Not where I was going to go, but I think that's the question of the moment. How much about the chemistry involved in sport do you draw from the business world around the alliances between teammates, the fake alliance you had with this person that you beat at the end?
No fake friends, I promise.
How much is applicable back and forth between the two?
There's a shocking number of similarities between cycling and BC, actually. So the first that's really interesting that I think a lot of people like might overlook is so in cycling, you have a lot of like domestiques, which are support riders, but for every race you have like one leader, and you pool the prize money at the end of the race. So like if your team wins and the winner gets $50,000, or in our case, like 500, then you like split the money among your team at the end of the race. And actually in venture, it's similar, where like one person will do a deal, but a lot of the venture returns are actually like shared among the partnership. Or maybe if you win, maybe the partner who leads the deal gets a little bit more. And then like in cycling, the leader might get a bonus from their team. So like the financial structure is very similar, but also just the reward structure where, if your teammate wins, like you also win. And then the second thing is like kind of on that vein, like you'll do races where it's going to be a sprint finish. So we race for our sprinter, and other races that are climbing race, like we race for our climber. And we all have a different role to play. And I think the same is true in a partnership. Like one of you might be really good at AI, they might be good at healthcare, but also like one of you might be really good at finding deals, and the other one's good at winning deals. The other one's really good at hiring talent, and the other one's really good at building a network. The other one has a really good brand on Twitter. And so I think really learning how to leverage everyone's strengths so that you win as a team is really valuable. And I think, to be honest, like I think before I started cycling, I was like very, very good at being an individual contributor, but I actually like wasn't the best at being a really good teammate. And I think cycling taught me how to be like a really good teammate.
So cool to have seen your full career and professional and athletic journey, and then to share it with everyone here. I really appreciate it.